Good evening, everybody, and welcome to TFC Open Mic Season 3, Episode 14, like a live show, only more goo. But unfortunately, Mr. Goo, Liam, has been called out on a call, so he's not going to be able to join us tonight. But never fear, got a couple of great players in here with us. Like to welcome the folks that have joined us tonight. First off, Venom, how are you, mate?
Good evening, I'm well.
Good, glad to hear that. And then we've got Jonathan.
Howdy, howdy.
And then I think we've got Christopher. Christopher, how's your mic doing? Well, maybe not. And I think there are a couple of others that are going to be joining us here shortly. Big week this week. We finished off Bounty 8. That, of course, finished on Monday with lots of excitement and a couple of really big hits towards the end. We also had the new TLC this week, Hydras Hollow, where you could get Blood Hydra tokens as well as regular Hydra tokens. We also have the raid coming up next week. We have seen some activity with some player shenanigans, with players getting their bases taken care of. And of course, we have the FM changes that occurred on Tuesday. So with that, I'm going to toss it over to Venom and ask you, how did your bounty finish up, mate?
Bounty wasn't too bad. I got at the end about 105,000 points with the Nexus bonus, so it wasn't too bad, but again, it could have been a little bit better. But that was a lot down to just not having the time to play. But other than that, it was grand.
Oh, good. And Jonathan, how about yours?
Oh man, he kind of outshines mine. Mine wasn't as good as that one. I think I got like maybe 57K. I didn't really see the need to get the new hull, honestly. My base defense is, doing as good as it is right now. I really don't care. So I just didn't want to have much time doing it. So I just did some basic stuff there, and that's about it.
Oh, good. I did go ahead and get the hull. I think I ended up with, it was like 88,000. I would have had more, except that I decided to at least try for that horribly huge last checkpoint on the last day because I wanted to get some tac mods, and came out of my base probably about 30 minutes before my bubble drop, and apparently they were taking shots and numbers on who was going to hit my base. So I had like 7 or 8 fleets outside. So, but it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of sector folks that came in and helped, and a lot of other folks, and somebody did end up getting it, but it was a great hit. But yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I like these your opponent bases, and this one it kind of seemed more, a lot more different. There wasn't as many troll bases as it was like, the give up bases, the players that gave up. But there's a lot, and it kind of, I guess, stems to, what level you hit. If you hit higher levels, you don't get as many as that one. Because I was seeing a lot of the lower level ones last bounty, instead of this one. So
Yeah, I thought they were good. I got probably, for me, it was probably 60-40. I got a fair amount of my points from real player bases, and not the opponents. I mean, I did hit the opponents when I was in the bubbles, but I did go out and hit a lot of other bases, and there were had a couple of hits on mine, and so did get a lot of points that way, which I was happy with.
Yeah, I felt quite sorry for a lot of people because I didn't have terribly much time to do it. I spent more time flattening actual players, and some of them seem to have worked very hard to get their points to have it taken fairly quickly. Especially on the last day, we're taking about 6,000 plus off people who probably needed it a little bit more than I did, but that's how KXI rolls, I guess.
that's how the game works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always plan on, or at least I try to always plan on having double what I need at the end, so that if I do get hit, then it's not going to be a huge issue to somewhat come back from it. But yeah, I mean, I lost 15. It's like 15,500 from that one last hit.
Ouch.
Yeah, so I felt that one, but like I said, I was happy with what I ended up with and was able to get what I wanted to get. How many Nexuses did you guys have, Venom?
We had 4 in the end. We ended up giving. We took one and ended up giving it back to the original owners. Because frankly, 5 is just not going to be easy to defend. But 4 is a hefty amount of points for anyone to get.
No issues with claiming?
Nope. There was a lot of people who were quite shocked and almost scared they weren't going to get their points. But again, you just have to be a bit more patient. The points do come, may not be within the first 5 minutes, but they will come relatively quickly.
Good.
See, I never knew how the Nexus bounty comes in. Is it after bounty that happens, or what?
There's 2 bonuses you get. The first one is, I think it's the first day, not the first day, but after a day has passed, you'll get a first set. The Nexus then changes to a different location, and then you'll get that bonus once bounty ends. I think it's about 10-15 minutes after bounty ends. You should have it. It's only if you're waiting half an hour, I'd send a ticket in, but other than that, you should be getting it pretty quickly.
Okay.
Oh, good. Glad to hear they haven't had any issues with that. And I think we've got Padre Prince with us. Welcome, mate. You got your mic there? Oh, maybe he's still working on it. But yeah, I have never played with the Nexuses. I'd like to. I mean, we've got in our alliance a couple of really big ones, but we can't spend hours and hours and hours defending ours. But it was kind of cool to watch some of those battles that are out there.
Yeah, I remember the first time they implemented the Nexus into the bounty. As soon as I got at bounty start, I got on one Nexus, lasted maybe 5 minutes, and I got knocked off. But I did take a picture of it, and I was like, I'll keep that. But yeah, no, I've never messed with that or don't want to do anymore.
Oof. Okay, well, I think that pretty much covers bounty. How about Hydras Hollow? Have either of you done that?
I'm sorry.
I've done a little bit of the Hydras Hollow. I do like how the targets have changed, so that it's not just based on the Fang Tooths. I was using the Prototide and the Hunter, combination, and I was actually able to do one of the I think one of the prize packs. I think prize pack 3 or 4, and do that one.
Okay, I've gotten through up to the first, I guess, the one of 2 masteries. I actually was being very lazy. I took the free proto Tideseeker that they gave us in the raid, which is not ranked, and I took one of my hunters out of my fleet and I tossed that little guy in there and basically have just torn through all of them. And I think I did, I was starting straight at prize pack 3. And so I did prize pack 3 and the first run through of prize pack 4 with that fleet. I think it was for about 6 hours damage. So that's out repairing now.
Oh no, doubt. I'm being really lazy with mine too.
Have you done yours, Venom?
No, I haven't even looked near it yet. I've been busy trying to fix the base at the moment. So the PvE side of things, I haven't looked near any of that yet. I probably should just to get the hunters done, but again, it's in the back burners. I've got my base to hold up for now anyway.
Okay, so I guess then let's go ahead and dive into the FM changes.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Who would you like to go?
If I can start, I just did 117, and I went from taking an hour and a half damage to nearly 6 hours, and I'm not happy. Not happy at all. That's a disaster.
Yes, very much so. I've been doing some tests with these suckers, and the first take I did with my dragons, which usually take 6 minutes per dragon in the 117, that got boosted to 57 to an hour damage per dragon. So that was 4 hours total damage, and then my Zealous got a little bit nicked. But so far, my last test I did with 3 dragons was 3 hours damage in it. So it's looking pretty iffy. It seems like they're trying to force us to put on the lowered explosive mounts for the defensive bonuses on that sucker, but
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help.
Nope. It does not help.
I mean, I've taken a lot more damage than originally, but I was running them for like 30 minutes before, and now I'm up to like an hour and 45, an hour 50 minutes. And I tried one today without the Savage, and that's a huge change. The Savage, without the Savage, it went from an hour 45 to 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah, without the Savage, it's a huge difference.
That's what I just said. 2 hours, 50 minutes.
Just jump in here. Hey, George, welcome.
Hi.
And then we've got Richard has joined us. Hello, Richard. And then we've got Rum.
Hello.
Hey, mate. So, George, I've only have 3 of the infernal. Hey, Richard, I only have 3 of the infernal dragons done. So I really don't have anything to compare to other than hitting the lower targets. But I guess we're looking at maybe what, 3 times the damage?
I mean, I think at least I know before the change I could run an entire 117 with just 2 dragons and come out with 2.5 hours of damage. Now I'm doing it with a full fleet and a Savage. Well, actually, a full fleet without a Savage is running me about the same damage. So 4 of them compared to 2.
I calculated it, and on my damage between before and after, 10 times the damage. Because I was doing 6 minutes per dragon, and it went up to a whole hour for each dragon.
Yeah, were you still running the Zealous on that fleet?
Yes, and the only thing that was hitting my fleet are the Executioner splash missiles. That's the only thing that hits me.
The little booger ones.
Mm-hmm. The little ones. The countered ones. When you counter them, they do splash damage.
Secondary, yeah. The little secondary missile.
Yeah.
Yep. The little booger missiles. The little green booger missiles.
And those can't be countered from what I understand.
No. I mean, I've tested it. I know that somebody on the forum had said so. Despite what someone said on the forum, no, you cannot counter them. Now, there has, like, I do want to test certain things. Like, I am dying to see if, the thrusters with the splash reduction would help, especially on the secondary hulls. I know that I am definitely testing, hopefully this weekend, an idea to exploit that missile's mechanic and force it to target just one ship, and then try and counter the splash on the other ships. I don't know. There's a bunch of ideas. I just don't know how well any of them are going to do the way that that's designed. I think it's just straight up designed to hurt us.
I've done some tests with the Iron Thruster 4, and there really isn't that much of a damage difference before the update. This was before the update. There wasn't a damage difference, but there might be now because the damage is so ramped up. I'm not sure.
And and that's one of the really frustrating things, because I tested the RA3 versus the hell is the other one?
AA3?
No, not AA3. AA3 doesn't work for either
CL3?
change. Yeah, thank you. That's it. So the CL and the RA, and before the change, there was negligible difference. And I refit one back today or yesterday, an RA back onto the fleet. And especially when I don't have the Savage, there is a massive, massive difference. So, yeah, MX, SCL, whichever one, the combo one. So before there was negligible difference between using the two. Now, if you don't have the Savage, RA is the way to go. And that's really frustrating, because I have refit these things more than any fleet that I have had in the last 2 years.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Now, I did do a test with monoliths and one dragon, and I did a whole 117 with just a dragon as a tank, and the monoliths running back behind like I do with my Zelos. 1 hour damage for the whole 117. That's one way to do it, but I really don't like that method. It seems too overcomplicated.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. Rum, how have you? Oh, welcome back, George. Rum, how have you seen yours?
I just gave up and just did them for the regular damage and let them repair. Didn't coin, didn't do anything. I'm tired of messing with them. You saw what I did when they first came out, trying to figure it out, and it's just I'm hacked with kicks, but that's not what we're here for.
And, I guess and this seems to be, and Padre said he's been getting about 2 hours and 20 minutes of damage for him. I guess that's on the 17s, so 117s as well. I think the frustrating thing is we all knew that they weren't the final targets, and we're all aware of that. However, we don't have the flag coming out until, as advertised by Kick so far, as until July. And we took a pretty significant increase in damage. And part of me worries that, because if you'll remember when they changed the 115s and we had that situation where no, nothing was broken, we didn't change anything, and then it turned out that there was an issue, that something was broken. So part of me is still waiting for verification from Kicks that, okay, yes, we raised the damage, and yes, we checked everything, and no, nothing is broken, kind of thing.
I mean, you're right. We did know that it was going to eventually get ramped up, right? But if that was the case, and it was going to be a ramp up in which our builds would have to be adjusted yet again, I would have liked to have seen some heads up or some direction given to us.
That's been our complaint forever, George. Lack of communication and broken product. They don't fix it. They don't change it.
Okay, but I'm not talking in general. I'm talking about with specificity to this topic right now.
But you can talk in general to everything, because if they would give us communication on anything, it would help. But they don't.
Well, why are they waiting so long for the flagship anyways?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and somebody brought a good point up in chat that when in fact it was Hefe, when the flag gets dropped, does that mean that we're going to have yet another target change? And if that happens, then we had the original March targets, they were adjusted back down, then they were adjusted again. We threw in the new 112. Then we've had this adjustment, and then another one coming, and that to me is like 5 just related to this first set of targets.
Well, like George said, he's not the only one. We've all done more refits to this fleet than we ever have. At what point do we call it the next generation monolith that sucks? I mean, it's a fun fleet to drive, but it doesn't get the job done for the lack of damage, and it's not anything wrong with the fleet per se as much as it is the target that they keep changing.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, right now I'm running it at 145-ish, right, in that area. I think with a bit of tweaking, which really pisses me off, a bit of tweaking kind of really annoys me at this point, because it's been a bit of tweaking for frickin' 2 months now, whatever. I think I might be able to get that a little bit further down, but that requires a damn flag that hasn't been released in I don't know how long, right? It requires a pinch. It requires driving a certain way, finding the path. This is the FM. I mean, I'm not sure that this is the path they want to go down with.
Well, sure it is. Really the path they're going down.
I'm really hoping that when they do finally come out with the flag, that they tune down the overall damage per target. Because right now, I don't know.
So you want them to give us another boat that we need to build, and then they can make it easier that we wouldn't.
Rum, that's coming no matter what. They've already stated that.
Sure.
It's an inevitability.
Why would you make it tougher now and then make it easier when you get a better boat?
Psychology.
Oh, please, George.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Again, I only have 3 of them, so I don't have anything for a baseline. Are you able to do the whole FM, all of the runs in one hit without having to repair?
No.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think. I know I can get 3. I don't know if I could squeeze a 4th out in one sitting.
well, I mean, if I were to jerry rig it where I have 1 dragon as a tank, 3 monoliths.
Me personally,
Who
Go ahead,
did we
Richard.
just lose?
Go ahead, Richard.
I think we're having problems with Google Hangouts today because I think we lost Price. I lost me earlier, and then we had someone else.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. What I was saying, me personally, I've built 4 blank dragons at the moment, and what I'm doing, I'm still using my icebreakers and hitting 1/1/1s. So I've got 4 blanks, and I'm gonna get the tokens the next raid, hopefully, if they put them in there, and then build and then start hitting. I hate the fact that we've have to refit ships every time that they make an adjustment.
Welcome to escalation.
I just hit a 117. What I don't get is I have 4 dragons and I took 4 hours of damage. I've got 93% defense for both stats, penetrating and
I know the way it's going though.
And yet my charge armor didn't drop that dramatically, but it seems like it's getting more penetrative damage.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that I posed, was that when you've lost over a quarter of your fleet, but yet your charge is still almost like, it hasn't kicked in. And that's, why I was questioning, was there something that was really going on? But so from what I'm hearing from the folks that are on here now, nobody has yet essentially been able to get through the full FM with just the 1 fleet.
No.
Not in
You
one
have to
sitting,
jerry
no.
rig it. Yeah, you have to jerry rig it so that what I would do 1 dragon and the monoliths as backup, and that's an hour worth of damage, and do it 4 times with each dragon.
That's where I, nobody likes damage. Everybody hates being able to do everything damage free, but I think we realize at this point that that's definitely not happening. But if I could get through, at least for me personally, if I could get through the whole FM with the 1 fleet in 20 minutes, then that would make me happy. But it sounds like with the changes that we had this week, we've now gone away from that again. Because I think, George, you were able pretty much to do everything, weren't you, last week?
Honestly, I've been losing track of what I'm hitting when, because I keep on, anytime I have them repaired, I go out and I test now. And I think, yeah, so before the change, I could do the entire FM in 1 sitting easy. I mean, not easy. I mean, I would have to repair overnight. It wouldn't be a simple quick fix, but yeah, I could do the FM. And I had said then I thought that the balance was fine just where it was. That's where it probably should have stayed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it's gotten up to this point, but yeah.
I was doing 10 before half my fleet was dead, so it was decent. I mean, maybe a little bit, like maybe 1 time's damage, but no, this is way too much, too ramped up.
I mean, I think part of it is that they're trying to focus the top tier targets onto using the dragons. But man, there are other ways of doing it than punishing everybody just to limit options in that target.
If that were the case, why would the damage have increased, what, 3-fold, 5-fold, whatever it is? And because, I mean, if they want to focus it onto the dragons, why make the dragons take more damage?
Or why let anything but the dragons in there?
Exactly.
Now,
I mean,
see,
it's much easier than the psychology.
To your first question, Rum, that's why I ended with punishing everybody. Because in order to do that, to keep the other things out of the targets, they have to increase the damage such that only the dragons are viable. Robin's idea, though, that's the other solution. And the only thing I can come up with why they wouldn't do that, is because too many people would freak out that they couldn't bring in their Zealous. And honestly, at this point, I would much rather have them go, yeah, you can't use, tier 6 stuff in here, but here's your dragon target and have fun and, do your FM in one sitting. I don't know.
I want to try changing my build again. I can get it to 98% pen defense. Maybe that'll help. And 88% explosive. Because explosive doesn't do hardly anything. I'm seeing a lot of red from the pen.
It's both damages. Okay, let me say this. I take that back. Let me put the caveat in there. When you're using the Savage, it's both damages balanced. If you don't have the Savage right now, it looks like there's more pen than explosive overall.
I'm not using the Savage. Straight up 4 dragons, that's it.
Then RA3 is probably your friend.
I was using the MX3, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Working last week and now it's not, so thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, I said that earlier. If you don't have the Savage, like the testing that I did without the Savage, the RA3 hull took less damage in that instance. But if I still had the Savage in, it was still about the same. And then before the change, with or without the Savage, it was still about the same between the two armors. So that's why I'm a little upset that, now people have to tweak again after seeing results from before. Because of the tuning of the target, people have to refit just to get it to work right. So, I don't know. I mean, at least we haven't seen, points escalation too bad. Not yet anyway. But at the same point, you do have to actually go through and it's not going to be a one sit down FM thing. And that's the thing that we had said that we wanted, and that was supposed to be the goal for the FM, and I just don't see it happening.
I did know something else though too. In my fleet, ships 1 and 4 took more damage than 2 and 3, but they're the same builds and driving stacked.
And you made a really good point, George. I mean, I have a Savage Kodiak, and I'm in the habit of I don't scrap flagships, but there are lots that don't.
Yeah, Mary, you said 1 in 4 took more damage.
Yes.
Did they happen to have the ones that had the phalanx on it?
I didn't check that. Let me check that real quick. I think I put a phalanx on all of them, to be honest, but I'll check.
Never scrap a flagship.
They were probably the ones that were.
Nope. Yeah, they're the ones that had the phalanx on them.
Yeah, it's got that extra boost in it.
Yeah, and that's what I was. No, they're the ones that took more damage because with the change, this was the other thing. This is why I said I wanted to take advantage or exploit the mechanic of that little booger missile. Before this change, the hull that was shooting down the executioners and getting the secondary missile targeted at it. So that's how the mechanic works. Whatever ship shoots down the missile will be shot at by that missile. So before, it was kind of even damage between the initial missile's damage and the splash to the fleet. Now, whatever hull is getting hit is getting whacked with damage on top of the splash damage of the splash of the missile. So it's taking a beating now if it's shooting down the missile. So like one of the ideas I had was to actually run a separate blank dragon essentially that just has defenses on it and put as much pen defense on it as I can with anything that I can and see what happens.
Well, mine with the phalanx, they took the less damage, not more.
They took less damage?
Yeah, with MX3.
Really? Because both of mine that had the phalanxes, depending on where I switched them, because I was switching them through the entire cycle of the fleet, they were taking more damage.
Mine took less.
More testing, I guess, this weekend. Phenomenal.
Oh, great.
I don't know if you said it or not.
I was thinking, maybe just toss on, only 1 charged X armor and then go from there.
So 4M?
Yeah, and leave the MX3. Or even just the RA3 there. So then you're getting 88 explosive and 98 administrative. And you got Gales on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work because you
Okay.
do need the charge. Padre, can you
I
talk?
was just going to say, do we have a mic?
Padre.
Padre.
Boss man, come on. Nope. We don't
Well,
got
he
him
doesn't
again.
have the mute symbol this time, so that's
Almost.
movement in the right direction. Oh well. Venom,
Halfway there.
you had said something there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the damages all seem to be high pass through, because from what I've seen, my charged armor barely moves. It's just almost you're almost putting on the armor just because it's got no repair on it, nothing to do with the charge anymore.
I think it's the resists. I mean, just like the Buccaneer target, it's going to be the charge is going to be absolutely. It's not going to be as important. I mean, this one's going to be more mixed, like the Hydra one, like the Hydra target is. But there you go. Hey, we got him. All right.
Hey, Padre, welcome to Open Mic.
Hey, yeah, well, it's sort of open when it works for me.
It wasn't me. That's all I can say.
Welcome to closed mic night for Brian. Hello, everyone. So, yeah, my only complaint is there's not enough res in these targets. I don't care about anything else.
Well, I want to know. I want to know what you've noticed in actually going and hitting the 117s.
I've only done 4. I'm taking about 2 hours, 19 minutes, 2 hours, 15 minutes damage, and I'm running AA3 on my fleet, not RA3. So I'm running higher explosive all the way around, and I'm using 3 of the X charged armors and 2 of the M's with the missile cruiser. So
You have the Savage as a flagship?
I do run the Savage. So that sort of makes up for, I think I'm at 99% explosive and like 96 on the missile. And I feel like 2 hours, 15 minutes is pretty much in line with everybody's build. So I'm a little confused how such a wide swing, and 4% at the top end is a huge difference when you're talking about defenses. I'm getting similar to results to people that are running AA3, or RA3, I'm sorry. So, I don't know. It's an interesting target. It's just the green missiles is really the only thing that's a pain in the butt in there.
Well, those missiles, I seem to see it does both damage types. So
Yeah.
if you're lacking on one side, it'll do more damage on the other side. So if you're high penetrative defense, then you won't get that much damage on penetrative, but you'll still go and get the explosive defense.
Yeah.
And that's what I've noticed, and that makes sense. That makes sense why yours does so well.
Yeah. Padre, you running it with a Savage?
I am, yes, sir.
Okay. See, I'm actually kind of curious now because you're good with the Savage. You're doing 220. I'm at like 145, and I'm running the MX3. Have you run it without the Savage to see what you get?
No, that would be more coin for results that I already know are gonna be. That's good.
I'm just curious because I kind of use like posts to see where damage is at for different combos.
I can run it right now while you guys are talking and give you a result.
Yeah, if you don't need the fleet and you can let it repair like later on, sure. I don't want you to coin it. I mean, it ain't worth it for that.
I don't really worry about that C word.
But theoretically,
somebody had asked on the page a couple times about not countering the arc missile so that it doesn't spew out the little.
It does more
green
damage.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, spew those out. So it is taking more damage with that.
Yeah. Now the catch is when I tested it, because I was testing just the difference between the two, I was only testing one hull at a time. I don't know if that original missile has splash damage. Now if it doesn't have splash damage, now that then becomes a very interesting quandary, because if you go in and only have that spread out over your hulls, I don't know that might actually work.
No, there's a problem with that, because if you don't run, say you counter it with, you don't counter it with phalanx, you have to put sprints on your dragons to counter the frostbites. The sprints.
I don't run any sprints. No.
Yeah, okay. I don't either.
So then, theoretically, it would work if you don't run sprints.
I may have to try that today.
But you're still taking the brunt of the frostbites, and I don't know about how the evade will work with it. but you will take a lot of damage with the missile, and it's going to be single damage though. It's not splash damage.
And that's the part that I'm kind of curious about, because when I was doing the testing, it was just on 1-to-1 comparative damage, which one does more. But now that they've bumped it up this much, where the splash is that much damage, it might be worth just going in and just letting it spread out over the fleet, or target whichever system that they use, number 1 or the last built or whatever the heck it is.
Well, on a good note, Laredo said that the 111 will be staying in circulation for, I think he said a few months. So it's a transition target still to this day, and we'll be there for a couple of months. So if we can't do these 111, 112s, and 117s, we could always switch back to 111s. Sadly.
Yeah, I can say that I did take in for the 112s. I did try multiple times with the Zealous of the monos, and then finally used a bunch of naughty words and said no. I know some were able to use the R5 icebreakers. Has anyone here taken their dragons into the 112s since the change?
Yes, and the original dragons, that I did, it was taking an hour damage in the 117 with the change, and then in the 112 I was taking 47 minutes damage per dragon. So it was about like maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes difference.
Okay. So you think that's a viable option if somebody doesn't have a full fleet?
If you don't have a full fleet, just stay with the 111s.
Okay.
It's not worth it. It really isn't.
Yeah, I'd hit a couple of the 111s, and for those of you that may not have hit them before, if you're paying attention when you're driving with the dragons, you actually can outrange the Drac carriers in there so that the UAVs don't even fire. So if you sneak up on those.
Well, not only that, but you could deactivate these shrouds pretty easily too.
Yep.
With the dragon fire.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the fleet. I'm just not enjoying the targets.
Oh, they're a beautiful hull. I love how they work in the flame, and it's gorgeous. It just doesn't the targets.
Okay, anybody else have anything on the FM?
5 hours and 57 minutes without the hull.
Damn.
Ouch.
Yep.
Wow.
5 hours 57 without the Kodiak.
Yeah,
Wow.
Granted, I drove a little poorly at the beginning, so I probably took about 40 minutes, I think, with good driving. And I usually run, what's that, Steelhead's crew, because it's pretty easy to get.
Right.
Yeah.
I usually run that, so probably looking at around
That's painful.
450 to 5 hours of damage without.
Wow.
The flag better be something awesome. Is all I'm saying.
As someone who doesn't have a Savage Kodiak, I can agree that is about the same time I get. And it sucks.
I get 3 hours without a Savage.
Well, remember, I'm
know what?
geared heavily towards explosive on my fleet, and I'm using the Savage to make up that difference. Because without the Savage in there, I think I'm only at like 90% on the penetrative resistance.
Damn.
So, what would y'all think of a fleet having 96 or 95 defense on both sides? Would that be, or do you need it more so on one side or the other side?
Actually, no, I'm 88 and 99, or it varies between 88 and 90 penetrating on those. So that 50% is a huge boon for me from that flag. But yeah, I think a balanced fleet may work well, but I think in the end it's still, you know what I'm saying? Like there is a huge amount of armor points difference when you're going from 96 to 99%.
Yeah.
Like it doubles almost in that 4% change. So when you're looking at it, you've got a balanced fleet, you're losing a lot of armor points on one side. So I think you'll do better generally, but you'll take more damage generally too. So I think it's kind of evened out.
I'm trying to look at mine, and mine I think is like 97 and 96.
Because I don't. And the funny thing is, I still have charged armor at the end. Like, I have plenty of charged armor.
The majority of your damage is coming through bypass.
Yeah.
I can see where they're going, where they're saying, yes, we're going to make the charged armor more of a luxury this time, but it's a huge cost to everyone. Instead of you actually, the people who do the work to get the charged armor doing well, both are now suffering.
And don't screw up, Venom, because I'm showing your target.
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Don't mess it up.
No pressure. No pressure.
When you can do a lower target for, like a 19 minutes damage, and you've got these higher targets,
Richard, your mic's going in and out, but I think what you're gonna say is like something essentially to like, if we're taking this much damage, this target should be about 1,000,000 points a pop instead of 500k.
It's got to get to a certain point where you have to feel that you're doing the testing for kicks.
From what I'm seeing, you're paying
very much so
a lot for time. You can do, my fleet does these 111s so easily, and that's 150k per pop. But when I go into a 117, it's between 5 and 6 hours damage. Like, that's instant repair for 150k, or 5 to 6 hours for 500k. I definitely know which one I choose. Like, there's no competition. There's really no point in even looking near the 117 for me.
I just ran through one with the Savage, average driving, and it was 2 hours 25 minutes. Damage spread evenly among the 4.
That's with or without a Kodiak?
With Kodiak.
Okay. That's about what I'm taking. That's in line.
I have one that has RA3 and 3 that have CL3, whatever it is. MX3, yeah.
Now, what is the damage difference of those
None.
2 holes?
They all three look, I mean, I'm looking at them on the screen, I'm sharing. They all 4 look identical.
Hello, Hefe, welcome.
Hello, Rue. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. You got some thoughts on the FM?
Sort of. Back when you guys were earlier talking about the scale up, I wish they had done it with I guess a little bit more agile of a hand. Because, you know, they've increased, if the point of this was to keep out the Zealous and the Monoliths and things like that, if they had used priority targeting early on, you can't get a Zealous or a Monolith up to the armor value of a Inferno Dragon. So they would be targeting those ships with the lower resistances and the lower deflections first, and not targeting the dragons. It just seems like a more agile way of doing it, as opposed to just upping the damage across the board, in my opinion. You know, I just, but we really don't know their goal when they made this huge damage change. So that was about it.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anybody else got anything for the FM? Oh, okay, yeah. One thing that we did see this week, although we don't normally talk about it, I am very happy to see it, and I know a lot of other people are, is it seems like Kix has identified some things that are happening in the game that shouldn't be happening in the game and have been taking care of that over the last couple of days. So I'm very, very happy to see that. So no more of those instant kill Howie fleas. So it was pretty good to see that.
Well, I don't see any of those because I don't really hit bases anyway. So yeah.
Oh, you'd know if you would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the banhammer is swung.
Yep.
Well, in some cases, the banhammer didn't even swing. It was just they went from doing really, really high damage to no damage. And they didn't change anything, so you can sort of see, you can see something clearly was wrong.
Yeah. So I'm glad to see that. And so I guess we're coming up almost on the hour here. Raid coming up next week. You guys are refitting your fleets with the escalation weapons or leaving them as is?
I love my Hydras. They're beautiful.
I'm kind of tweaking my Buckies a little bit. I'm starting out by changing 2 of the armors to the combination armors, and then I think I'm going to end up with all 4 of them as the combination armors. Because if they follow the same tack that they've been going through the whole thing, resistance is going to matter far more, especially if you're going to auto like I am. Because at the end, you're going to run out of charge anyway in that target. So the resistances are going to be the key factor if you're going to auto the target. So I think that's where I'm going to go with that. I haven't changed the weapons yet. I did, however, change the man. Finally, I gave in, I caved, and I put autoloader 2 in it because looking into how critical hits work and everything, that 100% was not giving an extra 100% critical damage. It was just reflecting the 100% critical that you got.
So all it was providing was a plus 10% critical hit chance?
Correct.
Wow.
At least that's what I was finding. So yeah, once I saw that, I was like, yeah, screw this. I took that off and auto-loaded 2 is in its place now.
That's the build I had was going through the autoloader version, and the only thing wrong with mine was it didn't have the radioactive armor, and it works perfectly fine. The explosions kill turret platforms very quickly. You just have to, if you want to take low damage, I'd just come out of the target and go back in repeatedly. But autoing, you can do it for 1 coin, just repairing the bin.
Now I'm hoping they don't have any type of increase damage-wise, like I was last raid. I don't know what exactly happened, but I went from autoing them, watching the auto, doing around maybe 8 minutes damage for a whole fleet, to taking up to 20 minutes damage and maybe sometimes 40 minutes damage.
They've done that in every raid in this cycle where they make some sort of change at some point on Friday.
Yeah, and I mean, I know last raid I was doing several targets for a coin. It would just be taking advantage of the boon's ability, right? But I don't know. Like I know this is because last raid set for the last one, there was a significant difference from the 3rd to the 4th, or the second to last to the last one, and I don't know. I'm kind of worried there's gonna be a change in this one too. But like I said, I'm not refitting my bucks too much. I've had essentially the same build with a couple of tweaks since the very first raid, and they've been doing well.
I still have quite a high concern for the autoing of the targets. There's a couple of bugs there to do with where your ships stop to get in range and then move again, and then there's one where they just stop and don't move anymore. It just kicks them off auto.
You mean for the Hydra or the Buck?
For both. It'll happen on either. It just happened on my dragons there, if anyone was paying attention to that, where normally it would stop just before it reaches the target and then move very slightly forward. In some cases, it will just stop and then never start moving again. And it happened a few times in the raid where you take damage from them
Stop
emancipators.
short of the turrets, yeah.
It would just keep pounding you with the emancipators, and if you're on auto doing the Hydra campaign, you'll never see it, and your fleet will come back dead.
You know, and that
still issues there they need to fix.
It's an interesting point because there was lots of reports of that on even the lower targets. I think it was the 63 that people were having problems with, and the 83 that people were having problems with, where regardless of whether it was Bucky's or anything else, it was just kind of like kick it off, do fine, and then boom, fleet's dead.
The 63 was a really interesting one because I watched this. Sometimes it just automatically just stops and you don't continue, and then there's sometimes where it bypasses a certain part in the whole end the target where it's in the middle, and so it goes all the way around, and then on the other side of the turrets is a field, the damage field, and it goes straight into the damage field and to finish the target, and you end up with taking a serious amount of damage on just a 63.
Yeah, I see that a lot on the charged path one. If you throw the Buckies in there, it's like goes through, does the most optimal path, and then it gets to where that string of shipyards are, and then it just kind of goes spack, and sometimes the fleet will split and two go over here and two go over there, and it's crazy. So it is sorry, go ahead, George.
I was just say I just took off my phalanx off of my fleet for the dragons. You don't want to do that. That idea does not work.
Oh,
okay. I was curious.
Yeah. Thank you.
That does not work.
Live testing brought to you by Dragonbane.
I am more than halfway dead going through this target, and it's the only change was taking off the phalanxes, so I would have the main missiles hitting me. That's not gonna work.
Now, do you notice a difference in charged armor? Explosive, penetrative, anything like that?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, no. No, I take that back. No, I don't. Let me split the fleet up here.
All right.
No,
well,
same.
It is the tech store. We know that we're getting the Manticore, not the Magicore, but the Manticore.
The Magicore, only $19.95.
We're getting the Manticore, and this time round in the raid, we get the Lion equipment, which will be the Panthera, if I'm remembering correctly, the Panthera scattergun. So that's the first kind of round. You can win the hull and then that set of equipment. And then sometime after the raid, don't have confirmation whether it's right after, weeks after, or not till the next one, there will be the Scorpion set of equipment. So Kix's plan is one hull, and then you choose your route, whether you want to do the bull in the china shop or the finesse driving or a mixture of both.
No, I'm intrigued by the new hull. I mean, it looks. I saw the picture on Rampage Reports. It looks pretty interesting, and I like the idea that they're using only one hull instead of two hulls, and you get to choose what you want to do with the hull.
My only concern with that is I have a fear that the best option, so the less damage and sort of easiest to drive, will be the one that they release very close to the raid and not in this next raid coming. So you have less time to build it. So people building the one from the raid may be building the worse off version, but they have the time to slow build it.
Well, I'm hopeful that the TLC that will come up will be the Siege Fleet TLC, unless I'm missing something. Isn't that what usually happens?
Please don't be subs.
The last raid fleet ends up becoming, used in the TLCs. So it might be an option just to build the hulls to start off with until we get to see some stats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect to see it soonish. I do have one question though: is if we have that one hull, if they come out with two different targets though, again for S targets, how many people here are going to feel like they are going to want to build two fleets?
I'm hoping it's just one target.
So am I.
I ain't going to do two fleets. No, unless they give us the amount of tokens for it, then I'll consider it. But other than that, no.
There's 2 fleets now, and I still only built 1 for this raid.
I'm hoping it's just one target.
Well, I mean, I don't know that they're going to be able to tune one target to both builds, because I mean that's the problem they've had in the last several raids. And I just wonder how many people, if they don't have a bonus attached to it, how many people are going to feel like they have to build a second fleet to do both targets.
Well, back in the day, they did that. They would have multiple S targets, and you got a bonus for completion, but it was...
Right, but back then you could do them with the same fleet. I'm saying if they have 2 different targets like they have now, where one build does one build does the other, but there's no bonus completion.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a target for the auto target, and then they have a target for the skill target, right? And you build one or the other, whichever way you want. Is everyone going to feel compelled to build a second fleet because there's 2 targets instead of 1? I'm just thinking if they can't balance it in one target.
You know, it's interesting, and that kind of almost talks to what's coming up with this raid. And last raid, I was very happy in that the points that were awarded versus the bonus, meaning that it didn't really worry me that I was missing out on a 2 million bonus if I just wanted to run the one fleet. And I'm hopeful that that will be the same this time round, because it is the tech store raid. So we know there's going to be a lot of stuff that's out there available. But I don't know, you know, 2 targets with a huge bonus. I don't know. That's just me. I'm hoping it's 1.
Me too. I'm crossing my fingers for 1. Otherwise, I have concerns.
But on that sense, if it is 2, maybe the bonus isn't as significant. Like, say, the 2 million isn't that too significant. I mean, it's nice to have that 2 million, but it's more of a luxury if you could get the bonus, honestly. But if it, you know, I wouldn't be compelled to do both fleets if it's just a 2 million bonus like that. I'll just stick with the 1 fleet.
Yeah, and we're not really thinking. We don't know enough at this point that the lion and the scorpion thing. Maybe the lion or the lion is more potentially, since this is assault. They haven't had a remote targeting in a while, but maybe the lion is the tank for the other one. We don't. I don't know at this point. I mean, I'm just saying there's possibilities out there where they may not be mutually exclusive. That where you may want to have 1 or 2 of one type and 2 or 3 of another. I mean, these are possibilities, but I'm just going back to, you know, years back in the vault as far as possible ideas that they may be, you know, rehashing or whatnot.
So we know we're getting the Manticore. We know hopefully they'll have the Inferno Dragon, and I'm hoping that'll be at a reduced rate, being as it's been out for a couple months now, so that people can get that. What else are we looking to see in the raid?
The missile stormcruiser is what I heard was maybe getting in the raid. I'm not sure.
That's about right. This is the 3rd time for it.
I want to see more dragon tokens.
Yes.
Yes.
All of the old base turret specials. All of them. That would be nice.
Tokens.
Yes, I'd really like to see dragon tokens.
Combo charged armor for the FM.
You mean the new one? Something new or the current one?
Something new that would work.
Yeah. No, the combo charged armor for the FM.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess
that works.
Oh, don't add another. Don't add another one onto the list.
Well, I'd like to see the Trident back in there. We haven't had that for a while. I know Venom mentioned a couple of the old base specials.
D33R, that would be nice.
Some maybe some of the turrets. When did we went OP10 in September, right?
Something like that. I can't even remember that far back. Yeah, I think.
I mean, that's like 8, almost 9 months ago now. Are we about due to see a reduction in build times and upgrades?
And be able to use base parts to finish our turrets. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Isn't it usually like about a month or 2 months before the new OP that they do that? Or
last year it was after only a few months.
Yeah, it was like less than 6, I think.
Did you guys hear anything about or see that Poseidon flagship for Conqueror hulls?
Mm-mm.
There was like that Rampage report. Somebody spotted that there on the board behind him there was a "Don't mention Conqueror flagship Poseidon." It was written on the board behind him. Clever little bastard. So I don't know. That could be something. I have a theory, but again, just a theory. I think it's for the Kings.
Sneaky.
Ooh.
That might be fun because I really like the Kings. And they've done that with almost every other hull, is bring at least one lower tiered hull back up into being useful for a time. They've done it with the Revenges. They've done it with the Prides. So it wouldn't be a stretch to think that they would fill in a gap with the Kings. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting.
Plus,
Poseidon is the king
of the sea. Yeah. Plus, there's a Poseidon depth charge. It's a concussive-based hull, so I don't know. Maybe.
Padres Poseidon.
There's a guy there with the picture. VHG. He's got, I don't know, the little whiteboard behind him. Venom Hurricane.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah. Don't mention this. Yuck. Yuck. Yuck.
Yeah. It's interesting. I never attached that to the writ.
They like to troll in their little whiteboard things.
Yeah, that could be wrong. I don't know. It's just a theory. I really do like the Kings, so I'd be happy if they were made viable again.
They may be. That might have been an Easter egg for everybody.
Yep.
Or an April Fool's Day.
It was the right time
I don't know
for
what
it.
day that was released, but yeah.
My concern is, he was talking about how icebreakers will be able to do the 112, and we haven't seen the Visago icebreaker in how long. So maybe that will be offered for those people who don't have the dragons. If they want to choose the icebreaker build, I highly suggest not doing that. But
look, at this point, with the damage that's getting tossed out in the 117s, I would want to see, I would not mind seeing that dragon out there for like 5 million points or less.
Yes, let everyone have a chance to get in that for a minimal. Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen the Visago icebreaker in so long, so I mean, it's one of those that could be put out there for those players.
Yeah. Okay, well, that brings us up to the hour. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Lots of really good discussion points and some interesting ideas. And thank you for the live testing from George and Venom.
Yep, thanks. I do have one last thing for everybody before we say goodnight. For everybody that's went and saw the thing on the Lions Club page, the answer is 5, for crying out loud. The elephants are in a group. They watched the other nitwits walking down to the river. Clearly, the rabbit wanted to get to the river first to get a drink of water before the monkeys got there so they could shit in the damn river and wipe their asses with the parrot. Okay?
All right.
That's why. It's 5. Bloody hell.
All right. Well, now that George has learned us and schooled us in math, just a couple things. I did post the 7 Ps on the page. Proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Say that 3 times fast.
My dad beat that into my head for years, so I probably could. Go ahead and make sure that you've got what you need to get done before the raid. This is a tech store raid, so it does run longer than the normal ones do. I know people hate doing the expeditions, but this might be the time where you do want to go ahead and just kick off a couple before the raid begins, so that way halfway through the raid you get some of that stuff back, especially for titanium, because unless you're buying it, that's pretty much the only way that you can get it during the raid. So with that, thank you to everybody that joined us on the panel, and then we'll see you guys. Thanks for those of you that joined us in chat, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Everybody.
Good night.